assessment at ODE. And I'm just going to run through a few slides here to try to contextualize a little bit more about this new assessment. And I'm making a little bit of an assumption that most of you are here because you obviously are interested in the conversation. You've probably gone to our website, maybe you've gone to the Smarter Balanced website, maybe you've taken a look at some practice tests, you've probably talked to teachers, so you've probably done a fair amount of information gathering. And I offer that up because some of what you see might be information that you've already collected. But I'll walk through it, and then again, as Rob said, we want to try to preserve as much time to answer questions and do some listening on our part as well. So up here, we're talking a little bit about, I guess I can't move that. Oh, that's right, that's right. Assessments, measure how well students are learning. So the summative assessment is really designed to tell us, to give us some kind of information about the health of our systems. As Rob described, the summative assessment happens really at the end of the year, and it's an assessment of learning rather than an assessment for learning. So we're trying to take a look at it. It's an attempt to kind of certify what kids have learned throughout the school year. In the case of Smarter Balance, the first on the top of the left column says, ask more whys and how do you knows than just checking facts. So again, this new set of standards, this Common Core State Standards, asks students to demonstrate higher level thinking skills, really kind of across all the grades. And so in order for us to measure student learning against a set of standards like that, we have to ask students to do a little bit more explaining about how they found their answer, and you see that in the test. That kind of information certainly helps improve instruction over time, and again, helps us monitor the health of systems. This is not a traditional multiple choice assessment, and again, the reason for that is that we're talking about a different set of content standards that require higher level thinking skills. This set of standards and this test do not require teachers to teach to the test, for sure. And it also doesn't require teachers to teach the same way to all students. There are opportunities across the board for teachers to differentiate instruction in order to help meet students' needs. Oops. Okay, so why do we need assessments? Rob alluded to a little bit of this, and I'll just talk through it a little bit more. The top piece there, assessments tell us something about whether or not students are on a trajectory to graduate, and by graduate, we mean that they're ready for their next steps, whether that be moving into college or into the workforce. They help us identify areas where we can focus attention and resources, and again, that piece for me gets back to the systems health component. We're talking about trying to gather information that tells us how things are going in a school or in a district or statewide, as Rob alluded to. That kind of information is really interesting to a lot of people, whether it be legislators, whether it be researchers, whether it be state agency staff. Certainly your district leaders are very interested in that because it informs how we allocate resources. Without assessments, we would not be able to identify where we stand in comparison to other states. And then of course we can talk about that at different levels as well. You know, if you're doing really, really poorly in a certain area, it's great to be able to go out and look at other information, find out who's doing that better than we are, so that we might be able to ask them some questions and learn a little bit from them about perhaps it's curriculum decisions they're making, or instructional decisions they're making, or scheduling decisions, or any other number of things. Assessments give us important information to be able to compare so that we can improve moving forward. So this is just a little bit of a timeline to, again, kind of contextualize where we are in this process. You can see over on the far left, October 2010, the State Board adopted the Common Core State Standards, and that's the moment in time where we have to start figuring out, okay, these are very different academic standards, so we're going to need a different kind of measurement tool to learn as much as we can about how well students are learning. So that process really starts back in October of 2010. The State Board formally adopted Smarter Balanced as our next state test for English language arts and math in May of 2013. 2 springs ago, we had a pilot test, and then last spring we were involved in a field test. When I say we, that means districts and students really across the state. For the field test, last spring there were about 25,000 students in Oregon that participated. Some of them might have been yours. And then there were about 4.2 million students across this entire consortium that participated in it as well. And then of course, as we've alluded to, this spring will be the first operational test of Smarter Balanced. So we're going to talk a little bit about what they look like. Again, I assume that probably at least some of you have taken a look at this, gone to the website, done some digging around. This first slide, which is a little busy, I apologize, but it's meant to kind of show you when we say the Oregon statewide assessment system, this is kind of what we mean. In the column on the left, 2013-14, so that's last year and prior to, we have what we used to call the OAKS reading and writing and math tests. Then we have science and social science assessments. We have an extended assessment, and that's intended designed for students that have severe cognitive issues, English language proficiency assessment, and then a kindergarten assessment. Over on the right, we have 2014-15, that's this year. Moving forward, we're replacing our OAKS reading and writing assessment with the Smarter Balanced English Language Arts assessment, and then of course, Smarter Balanced Math replaces OAKS Math. And the rest of those effectively stay in place. We do have a new English language proficiency assessment that'll be coming on board next year, and a few other things. There'll be a new science assessment in a few years as well. So when we say the Oregon statewide assessment system, that's really what we mean by that. Now, every district in the state of Oregon has other tests that they utilize for other purposes as well. And Rob mentioned the formative and the interim legs of the stool. So, if you were to, talk to the folks here in Gladstone, for example, or go and talk to folks in Portland or out of Beaverton, you'd find out that across the district, across schools, and even from one room to the next, there are a variety of other assessments that are used for a variety of other purposes to gather information about student learning. These are the assessments that we would refer to that represent the statewide assessment system. So there are a few things that are different about this test. Again, we talked